Family, I'd like you to consider this with me today. In various places in our country right now, churches are being the focus of media events from the standpoint of a variety of pastors who feel so led to defy the government's order to stay in place. Many of them will openly say, we are going to gather no matter what. We have a constitutional First Amendment right to do so, and we are going to obey God rather than man. A number of individuals, self-proclaimed theologians though they be, would use various passages from Scripture. For example, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, saying to Nebuchadnezzar, we will not bow down, we will not worship your idol. Daniel, still, even after the king made the edict of no one praying to any other god except to the king for 30 days, Daniel still went to his home, opened his windows toward Jerusalem, and was found to be faithful in the place of prayer. In the New Testament, the apostles in the book of Acts, when being told, stop the preaching about Jesus, simply said with respect, we need to obey God rather than man. Do these things apply to what's happening in our country today? I would say no, and there's a reason for that. Our government is simply asking us to stay put. They're not asking us to stop preaching about Jesus. If that was the case, do you think anybody would be putting out a broadcast on Sunday mornings? They're not asking us to worship a false deity. They're not asking us to refrain from praying. Quite the contrary. The Bible tells us in the book of Romans that we have a responsibility to the government. Paul writes in Romans chapter 13, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Now, yes, there is a time and a place, if and when we're ever told, stop preaching the gospel, stop talking about Jesus Christ, stop praying, stop trying to lead people with the good news of what Jesus has done with salvation. If those things happen, absolutely, we need to obey God rather than man. What our government is asking us to do in the interim, and I stress interim, is to simply stay in place. This pandemic is a vicious, vicious enemy that is easily spread to others. As a matter of fact, we have heard results, and yes, there are those who will say no media can be trusted. Many of that is true. But there are many who would say, look at the results of what's happening. Church leaders, church groups that have been getting together in defiance of what the president has requested, now all of a sudden, they're coming down sick. Can they honestly deal with that responsibility on their conscience? Pastors and leaders of churches who are leading their people to defy the government. As a result, they're getting sick. Some of them may die. Can you really have that on your conscience? Listen, there are times and places for us to put God first. This is not one of them. Stay the course. Stay at home. Stay out of circulation. Be safe. And realize, if this really and truly was a government takeover of the church, there would be so many more things that were happening. If the government really wanted to shut everything down, why would we be allowed to send out broadcasts on a regular basis? Why would you be allowed to even watch something like this? Well, this is Pastor Mike. I'm just asking you to consider these things. Do your part as a citizen, as a Christian. Obey your government. Pray for your leaders. And oh man, let's look forward to the time when we are going to be together again, when this is all over.